Hello everyone, I'm creating this short video here so I can show you some examples of what your final ALE project may look like. I say may look like because you're going to see that I've combined portions of two previous students' work. And so there's lots of options on how you can present all the information that you need to do. PowerPoint has been the way that most students are doing it, but you do have other options, so please make sure to read the assignment directions and contact me if you have any questions. So this presentation will show you, like I said, portions of two students' assignments. It's really important that no matter if you like what they've done, the resources they created or they found, that's awesome, but you cannot use some of the same things in your own project. So like I said, you might like the topic, you can focus on the similar or even the same topic, but you cannot use the same thing. So I'm going to start off with this one. You can see here this student, her project mainly focused on recycling resources. This was a student from fall, and so her way of completing her service hours is different than how, well, it might be different. It might be similar to how some of you have been able to complete hers or complete your own. So she explained first on how she completed all her hours. Remember, that is one of your assignments, a portion of the assignment that you have to do is you have to tell me how did you complete all 20 of your hours. So here she said that she volunteered 12 hours in the Child Development Center, and then this is what she noticed, and then for her 8 additional hours, she decided to gather resources, and then she ended up giving it to this Child Development Center where she volunteered. So that's how she did her 20 hours. In your project, you need to break it down. You might do 4 different things, or you might have done all 20 hours on one topic, and that is fine, but you have to break it down and it must equal 20 hours. So here she explains why she decided to focus on what she was doing. And again, you have to explain that also. So these are just, brief statements. I don't need paragraphs for everything. Here again, she goes into a little bit more on why she did it, and then she also tells us how did she get some of this information to the person. So here she says resources on recycling were put into a Word document and sent to Miss P via email, and then she eventually comes and shows us here the email that she sent. So if you decide to also email information to different people, you don't have to put in a copy of every single email you sent, maybe 1 or 2 of them. If you decide to post to social media, you don't have to show me every single post you did, but put in a couple of those. I need to see how you completed the hours, so you're going to tell me how, but then also how did you get that information out? Because remember, just gathering the information itself is not a service until you provide that information to somebody else. So here are some samples of the service that she did. She had some other slides where she explained what all this was, and so I took some of that out, but she showed me, you can see on this one side here, link of the recycling videos. These she did not create, she found them. There was a lesson plan. Here's some different things that they would do, different ideas that they would need to implement some of these lessons. And so she did several slides of this. Because there were several activities. So that's something I want you to remember, is that you have to give me an example, or you have to provide some examples of what your service resources looked like. So if you created videos, then maybe put a video link in there. And so then I could click on it and see. Sometimes you can actually insert the video, which is kind of nice, or maybe take a screenshot of the video. So there's the picture, but then the link is there also, so I could click on it and see it myself. So you have to include that kind of information. Another part of your assignment is you have to tie back your learning to the student learning outcomes that are tied to service learning specifically. These service learning outcomes are on the last page of your assignment for your final ALE project, and they're also in the course syllabus. So I just want to give you an example of how one student tied the information that she needed to address within her presentation. And I keep saying her, and it might have been a male student. I just, when I'm talking right now, her is on my mind. So what this student did is she listed all the student learning outcomes. She did actually address each and every one of these in her presentation, but I didn't include all of that in here for you. And so she had this at the beginning, all the student outcomes and what they are. Remember, this presentation, you should be creating it as if you're presenting it to somebody who does not know anything about service learning, does not know what the outcomes are. And so here she gives an explanation of what they are. And then on her next slide, she ties back her learning to the specific SLO. So for this one here, demonstrate growth. So she talks about how compiling the resources gave her the opportunity to apply information. Also, while researching activities, she referred to the Texas Infant, Toddler, and 3-year-old guidelines. And that's probably because maybe that's the age group she had focused on. But those guidelines you have, you also have the pre-K guidelines. You also have the CDC checklist. So if you used any of that to help you decide how to use information or how to create information or what information to gather, that is demonstrating growth. You're tying together multiple different information sources and then doing something new with it. So you want to explain that in your project. For analysis of knowledge, again, she kind of gives very specific examples. That's what's really important, is that you give specific examples on what you've done. So here she said in her service location, she was able to observe and apply many of the facts and theories that were learned this semester. So again, you remember, she didn't just observe, she applied information. That's what's important, is that you're doing something. And so again, she just kind of goes into more of an explanation. Identity and commitment, same thing. She's specific. She tells me in my placement, I did this. Completing the remaining hours gave me this, allowed me to do that. So if you were able to volunteer in a location or, had some kind of interaction with people, even if it was via like Zoom or something like that, that's still something you can reflect on. So I know some of you had thought about doing stories that you would read them on Zoom or on some other type of communication program, and then you would post it. If people comment or give you feedback, you can learn from that. And so you want to address that with whatever SLO that would tie to based on your individual learning. So there is a reflection portion that you're required to do, so I wanted to include that in here. She included the diverse and global society as part of her reflection, and that's fine. In your directions, you'll see that diverse and global society and also broader impact, you have to address those two. If you do not, you will not score a 1, 2, or 3 in portfolio. You must score a 1, 2, or 3 in order to get the service learning credit. So you remember, you complete the hours, and that's required in order to pass the class. If you don't complete the hours, you're an automatic failing. But in order to earn the service learning credit, you have to address diverse and global society, and you have to address broader impact. And so I included it in here just because I wanted to make sure to make note of that. It's really important, if you follow the directions step by step, you'll make sure you'll have all the information in there. You won't miss anything. So here's how she addressed diverse and global society. And then she kind of did an overview of what she learned from service learning. Again, part of your reflection, it's in there that you have to do that. And then I am asking, now this is something, COVID-19 was not something that I asked my fall students to reflect on because it didn't affect them. However, for both spring and right now in the summer, and possibly even my fall class in 2020, there is a portion of your reflection that I want you to address how things might have changed because of COVID-19. And that's going to be different answers based on your experiences, and that's okay. So here she talked about her educational impact, what she was doing, how society was, her placement within her area. She also talks about impact on children and families. And I know that some people have felt that that's really what's moving them to complete their services, because they're realizing how having a social distance, not being able to do some of the things you were able to do before, has impacted children and families both on a cognitive level, but also on a social and emotional level. So finally, because she talked about different organizations and different resources in her presentation, she did include a reference list. That is not required, but if that is something that you did where you referred back to other sources of information, please include a reference list. It's really important that you take your time and you do this. This assignment is worth a lot of points. I explain, I have step-by-step directions. Just like in the syllabus with any other large assignment, if you want to send this to me at least a week before it's due, I can give you some feedback on it. I want you to be successful on this, and this is a great opportunity for you to be able to reflect on your service as a whole. One other thing I just want to bring up is when you're submitting to Portfolio, and again, these directions are in our course shell, that you're submitting two things. One, you're going to submit your final ALE project, and then the second thing you're also going to submit is one of your reflections. I say one of the reflections that you've already done, as long as within one of those reflections you've actually reflected on completing the service learning. Not, this is what I think I'm going to do, and this is why I think it's going to be important, but you actually reflected on the completion of the service learning. If you have not done that, then you will have to write another reflection and submit it within Portfolium. Again, those directions are listed, that information is listed in our course, but I just wanted to bring it up here. As usual, if you have any questions, please let me know. I hope this video was helpful. Have a wonderful day and stay safe.